Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. We're back at the Dice Cup this evening, and I'm joined by...
I'm Shane.
I'm Hannah.
Steve.
Peter.
And we just finished playing Scythe. Now, this is a 4X game, essentially. The theme's quite interesting here. Everyone goes on about the artwork for this game, and it is really nice. If I just zoom out a bit here, you can see the board. It's set in the 1920s, is that right, Peter? You're big on the theme, aren't you? But it's kind of alternate history. So you have all these little farmer worker type people, but then you also have these mechs that walk around and fight. So you're trying to expand and occupy these different hexes that produce resources. So this produces iron, for example. This produces oil. And you use the resources to make more mechs, for example, and do other things. But you can also fight each other. Interestingly, the fighting is quite limited in the game. It happens, and it's important, but it's not quite as important as you might expect looking at all the mechs tramping around on the land. But the way you actually play the game is fairly simple in that you've only got 4 actions. So this board can have 4 panels. And when it's your turn, you pick one of these panels, you stick your pawn on it, and you take that panel's action. So each turn you can only do one of 4 things. And you can't do the thing you've just done, so actually you've only got a choice of 3 different things each turn. But there's a lot of complexity to this. The strategies can be really quite deep. So on this first one, you can bolster, which means you go up on the power track, which you use for fighting. And you can upgrade, and the upgrade mechanic's very interesting. If you notice here, when I bolster, I get 2 power, but if you upgrade, you get to take one of these cubes away, which means I now get 3 power, and you get to put it on one of the bottom things. When you do the bottom thing, you can pay, so in this case it costs oil for me to upgrade, but you see I put a cube here, I've upgraded this. Originally it cost me 3 oil, but when you upgrade, you stick it there, and so it only costs you 2. So it increases what you get here, and reduces the cost down here, which is... very nice. The next board you're producing. So wherever you've got workers, they produce on the hexes the stuff, and then you can build mechs here. This one lets you move your people around, and you get to build buildings. There's some buildings which give you kind of special abilities. And then on this final one, you get to trade, which gets you kind of any resources you like, really, 2 of your choice. And then you go to enlist, which reveals these things, which gives you bonuses, extra cards, for example, which you can use in combat, when your neighbours take the same action. So that's quite handy. You're often looking at your neighbour's board to think, what are they going to do? Because that affects how you're going to plan your turn. So you're taking these actions. Each panel has possibly 2 actions. You do one or the other action, and you try and use those actions to get resources, expand across the board. But how you actually win the game, one of the important ways, is you're trying to get these victory stars here. And the victory stars for all kinds of different things. So you get points for upgrading, building mechs, building buildings, enlisting, getting new workers out on the board. You can get a maximum of 2 of these for fighting. So once you've fought and won 2 battles, you're not really interested in killing anyone else. And that's why the fighting's quite limited. It's important, but you're not going to have anyone beating up on somebody all the time, because after 2 fights, it's not worth them carrying on. There's a popularity track, which is quite interesting, which runs up here. Your leader, which is these nice miniatures here, goes around having adventures, and you draw an adventure card, and you get a choice of 3 things. So you can choose to be nice, in which case you might get a couple of good things, or you can choose to be mean, in which case you get lots of stuff, but you lose popularity. And at the end of the game, you're getting victory points, effectively, depending on where your popularity is at the end. So Steve did very well, and he's going to get lots of points for occupying territory and getting the victory stars I talked about over here, and also having resources. But Peter didn't do quite so well, and he's not going to get as many points because of where his popularity is. He was mean and got lots of stuff during the game, but the popularity, I think, meant Steve won out in the end. All right, what do we think?
I really enjoy this game. It's got a lot of variety to it. The fact that each player's board's different means that you could play it with each faction and get a completely different experience. So like the replayability is really good, which I really like. There's quite a lot of strategy, but there's only a select number of options. So it's a lot of thinking, but it's not overly complicated either. And yeah, the fact that you can play it so many different times, I really enjoy. So I really enjoyed it.
Great. Tom?
Well, it was the first time me playing it, so it was kind of like it's kind of hard to kind of get into the game, but as soon as you get into it, it's quite easy to kind of get the grasp of it. But yeah, a lot of thinking. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a sharp learning curve, definitely, on this one.
It's my third game, and after the first game, I played with people who played before, a bit like yourself, and you found like by the end of the game, oh yeah, I know what I should have done, and I know what I should have done right at the start. I should have enlisted, or I should have upgraded, and so on. So the next two times you play it, or the next few times you play it, it becomes a bit easier just to have that first little plan of what you do. I find it very easy to kind of plan 2 or 3 turns ahead. I need to do that, so before I do that I need to move there so that I can use that action to get my resources. And you can kind of plan a few turns ahead. What other people do doesn't really affect much what you've got to do. You've got to be wary that they could come and attack you, but generally you kind of are kind of building your own little bit up until you're ready to kind of go out further. Everyone kind of starts on these little islands, so your very first turn you've just got these little islands to build, and you're just building up on your little bit until you've built the mech that can cross water, until you've built the tunnel where you can go around the tunnels. I really do like this game, and I do think it benefits from repeated plays.
Okay, Peter.
Right, okay. Well, I find the game challenging, frustrating and fun all at the same time. The fun aspect is the engine builder in terms of, as Steve just said, each of the actions you're building, you're planning ahead. The frustrating aspect of it is that I find is the variance of the board, because the board varies so much. It's almost like you're playing a new character each time and you're having to adapt to it. And if your play style is of a certain style, which mine is, certain boards that I get, because this is now my 6th game, I just cannot play that style of game. While others, it's yes, this is me, and I can really go strong. And that's the frustration aspect of it. But as a game, it's a good game. But it's a case of, I always find it challenging because I can never figure out the best way to play.
All right, rating out of 10?
Oh, out of 10. See, that's a tough one. I'm going to say 7.
Okay, Steve?
I'll go 8.
I do a 7.
I'd give it an 8.
All right, I love this. It's super engaging. So I sit here on my turn, I'm thinking, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. There are so many different things that you possibly do, and yet there's only 4 actions, and only 3 that you can actually pick each time. So it's wonderfully simple, and yet there are so many possibilities. I love the interaction, the way you do have to look at your neighbours' boards to work out what they're doing. But I find by the end, you look at the clock, it's like, where did the time go? Because I've just totally absorbed all the way through. I love the fact that it has the combat, but there's not too much of it. It's not just a war game. It really ticks all the boxes for me. Production is superb. Quality of the components is great. I love the miniatures. I'd be on a 9 out of 10. Really big fan of this one. All right, thanks very much for watching. That was Scythe.